Hello everyone. Today I'll present you the book of the City of Ladies, the second part, chapter 53. The plan of my presentation is firstly I'll present you the question, secondly my thesis, then my argument, then I'll talk about thesis of the text, then argument of the text. After that, I'll talk about objection and a possible reply to objection. Then I'll give my examples. My question is, in part 2, chapter 53, Kristin asks why women do not respond to male writers who write lies about them. What is Lady Rectitude's reply? Do you find it convincing? Would you reply differently? My thesis is, according to Lady Rectitude, everything has a place and a time. The time is still not right to challenge them and refute them. Yes, I find it convincing and logical. Since women were much newer in these jobs in those years, they didn't have the power to defend and justify themselves. It's too early for women to respond to men who slander them right now. For this reason, waiting for strength, the right time, is the most logical option for them. So, I wouldn't reply differently and I agree with Lady Rectitude. Here is my argument. There is 5 premise and conclusion. The first premise is the reason people slander is because of jealousy. The second premise is although the slanders of others can depress people, but these slanders do not affect people because these slanders do not reflect the truth. The third premise is it's not important that what people say about us, it's important that how we are. Premise 4 is trying to do some things before the time has come, it will very likely fail. Premise 5 is since women didn't have a say over men in society at that time, women's discourse means nothing to anyone. The conclusion is it doesn't matter if men slander women because it doesn't reflect the truth. When the time comes, women will respond to all slanders. But first, they must wait for the day when they will have a say in society. The thesis of the text is, according to Lady Rectitude, there are both men and women who are virtuous and those who are not. It's absolutely a lie for men to say that women are not virtuous. The statements that women are not virtuous are only slander. However, women cannot respond to these statements right now. They must wait for the right time. There is a quotation. Rectitude also told me some other women who were so strong-willed that they choose to die from drinking poison rather than fail to uphold truth and decency. The argument of the text includes 4 premise and conclusion. The first premise is not all women are virtuous. The second premise is just as not all men are virtuous, so can not all women virtuous too. The third premise is men are responsible for most of the crimes and sins committed in the world. The fourth premise is there is a time and a place for everything in the eternal scheme of things. The conclusion is it's not right that men saying women are not virtuous and slander them. Men must see their own mistakes and evil first. Women are waiting for the right time to defend themselves against these slanders. The objection is men blame women, slander them and say that they are not virtuous. Women also do nothing to justify themselves. In this way, other people also think that women are immoral as men say. And they think the slander of men is correct. Women are waiting to be empowered enough to respond. That is the right time. But when the right time will come is unknown. Even if the right time will come, it's not even known. Not responding to the slanders thrown at them during this time would be no different than accepting those slanders. A possible reply to objection is, as later rectitude said, it is not the time for women to respond to the slanders right now. If they don't wait for the right time to respond to these slanders, women are more likely to fail in defending themselves. Trying and failing to defend oneself also means precisely that those words were not slanders. The words reflected the truth. If it were slander, women could defend themselves and exonerate themselves. In order to avoid such a bad result, women should wait for the right time. And when they have the strength to win their cases, when they defend themselves, they must respond to the slanders that have been thrown. Otherwise, if they attempt such a thing before the time comes, they will not only be able to exonerate themselves, and as I mentioned, they will fall into a worse situation. Here is my examples. There are two examples. It fails, and one example it ends with a victory. The first example is about Enver Pasha. During the First World War in 1914, Enver Pasha started the Sarıkamış operation with his soldiers. When Enver Pasha started the operation, he had a very intense time in Sarıkamış region and the water was minus 30 degrees. Since Enver Pasha didn't start the operation at the right time, 78,000 Turkish soldiers died in the cold, unfortunately. The second example is about Adolf Hitler. Germany had lost the First World War and had suffered enormous casualties. Adolf Hitler couldn't digest this loss and played a huge role in the start of the Second World War, just 21 years after the First World War. 21 years is very little time for a state that has lost a world war to recover. This situation was no different for Hitler's Germany. In 21 years, Adolf Hitler was completely confident that Germany was very advanced and ready for a new war. But Germany also lost the Second World War too. In other words, the price of this move Adolf Hitler made without waiting for the right time was very high. The third and last example, which ends successfully, about Mustafa Kemal Atatürk. When Istanbul, the capital of the Ottoman Empire, was under occupation, Mustafa Kemal landed in Samsun on the ferry named Bandırma on 19 May 1999, and this event is considered the de facto beginning of the Turkish War of Independence. Then, after a struggle lasting nearly 4 years under the leadership of Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, the Turks declared their independence and established the Republic of Turkey. In other words, Mustafa Kemal Atatürk started the Turkish War of Independence in the right place at the right time, and this struggle ended successfully. Thank you for your listening. This is the end of my presentation.